Okay, so this is a roof jack. On the other end of this, there's a range hood over the cooktop in the kitchen. So it's exhausting the air from the kitchen out of the house. This also might, on the other side, for example, have a bathroom fan. What this is doing is it's not only giving a place for the air to come out, but it's also got a damper in there, which is preventing cold air from leaking back into the house when the fan is not operating. In the case of this particular range hood, that damper is not working properly, or else maybe there's another problem. We don't know exactly what it is, except that we do know that it was leaking badly from the interior. So we're going to take it apart, see what's wrong, and fix it. Oftentimes we'll take the roof apart to get this thing off, but because of the way the roof's been installed in this case, we're going to do something different. We're sort of going to disassemble the roof jack itself so that we don't have to tear up a roof which is in kind of delicate condition. So I've prepared the other side already, and I'm just going to drill a few more places here. What I'm doing is I'm drilling out the places where the sheet metal's been spot welded together. And that should just allow us to flip this thing open like a clam and work on it, and then we'll put it back together with some screws. And it should be pretty much as good as, or better than new, because we're going to fix whatever's wrong with it. So I'm going to go ahead and open the top of this roof jack up, and we're going to look inside and see what we have to do to fix it. So this first part here is the damper. This is what keeps the cold air from getting back into the house when it shouldn't, and it's what's supposed to allow the warm air to get out when the fan is operating and blowing that air from the top of the cooktop out of the house. I'm going to remove the damper, which seems more or less to be operating as it should, and we're going to look underneath here and see why this thing is leaking so badly. And there we can see exactly what's going on. This piece of rectangular duct here, this is what's coming from the top of the stove. And it's supposed to be just blowing to the exterior of the house. Well, look at this. I can look down in here and actually see the attic. That's bad for two reasons. It's bad, number one, because that moist, warm air from the top of the cooktop is being blown up into the attic rather than being exhausted to the outside of the house as it should be. That's also bad because it means that when the fan is not operating, cold air that's inside the attic is just falling right down this piece of duct onto the stove, which is exactly what the homeowner reported to us. He reported that he feels cold air pouring into the top of his stove. So we're just going to fabricate a little bit of sheet metal to plug up this hole and put it all back together, and we'll be good. We'll keep the warm air in the house where it belongs, keep the cold air out, and we'll prevent the potential of any damage happening to the structure of the roof as a result of that warm, moist air from the kitchen condensing on the underside of the roof deck and rotting the roof. Remember that there was a giant gap here where cold air was streaming into the house from the attic. So I've gone ahead and repaired that here. If you look in, you can see that that's the rectangular duct that comes from the range hood that was existing. Right here, there was a huge gap. I have cut a piece of sheet metal and made a flange that fits into the existing duct, and I screwed it off. And then I've applied this sealant to the whole system to make sure that it's really almost completely airtight. What that's going to do is it's going to ensure that the air that's coming from the range hood is going to go outside the house, and it's going to prevent any cold air from the attic getting back into the house down here. We see this kind of thing all the time where there's a problem in between something that one trade did, in this case it's the roofer who installed the roof jack, and what somebody from another trade did. In this case, it's the guy who did the ducting. Whose fault is it that this wasn't corrected? Well, I don't really know, because the ducting guy did pretty much what he was supposed to do correctly, and the roofing guy did pretty much what he was supposed to do correctly, but where those two trades came together, everything fell apart. That's where we fit in a lot of the time at Vesta. We're putting the pieces together in such a way so that they work well with each other, even though the individual trades might not know how to actually coordinate what they do properly with the other trades. We do this kind of thing not only with mechanical systems, but similar kinds of things happen with insulation, where insulators install their insulation properly, but there are electrical issues that are going on that haven't been coordinated properly between the insulator and the electrician. Similar kinds of things happen with plumbers and air sealers. Similar things happen with the furnace and water heater guys and the air sealing guys. It's always sort of in between trades that the mischief happens, and it's in between the trades where there's the greatest opportunities for us to fix people's houses and make them work better. And that's what we focus on. I'm going to just button this up now, go inside the house, test it, make sure everything's working well. This was the original damper that we removed. So this is the doodad that flips open to allow the air to escape when the vent hood is opening, but then closes to prevent cold air from getting back into the house when the vent hood is turned off. So I'm just going to reinstall that guy with one little screw, and then and that's all that's going to take. And then this guy, it's going to be a little bit more complicated because of course this thing was never meant to come apart. We had to drill out the welds to get it all together. So it's not going to be quite as pretty as it was when we started, but we'll make sure that everything's sealed up and working well in any case. Okay, so there you have it. It's all secured back together again. I'm going to put a little bead of sealant along here and we'll be all done. We took what was a big, huge gaping leak. A bypass is the jargon that we use. We've corrected it so that it's safe and functional and eliminated a major source of cold air leakage into the house, as well as preventing the potential for damage to the roof.